Ahead of tonight's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Tampa Bay Lightning signed former seventh-round pick Cooper Flinton to a 2-year entry-level NHL deal. Does that tip the scales towards Isaac Howard turning to the Bolts at the end of the NCAA season?
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Josh Sperber, thanking all of you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the show for you. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. And the first thing that we're going to talk about today, Lightning versus Penguins. Every game, as I've mentioned, getting bigger and bigger, and this is really the start of it. Tampa Bay entering 4 points out of first place with one game in hand against the Florida Panthers, but they are also 2 points out of second place behind the Toronto Maple Leafs. 85 points. They play the Penguins, who are on the outside looking in, but still very much in the mix for a playoff spot. They have 69 points, and despite having 2 more games played than the Islanders, they are 5 points behind the New York Islanders, who will come to Amalie Arena on Saturday for the final time in 2024-25. This is a team the Lightning have faced twice before and beaten twice before, so you certainly hope that the trend follows suit at Amalie Arena later tonight. It was a Braden Point overtime winner back in November in Pittsburgh, and then again in Pittsburgh. Nikita Kucherov broke the tie with 3 minutes left in a 5-2 Lightning win. Kucherov also got an assist on Anthony Cirelli's empty net goal, the first of 2 that the Lightning scored in the final 2 minutes of their last win against Pittsburgh. So you like to say, hey, Lightning beat this team twice. No reason they can't do it a third time, but the Pittsburgh Penguins have certainly improved since the last time these two teams faced each other. They are coming off of a shootout loss to Florida, and a game that certainly broke the hearts of Lightning fans, as the Penguins were ahead for a majority of that contest against the Panthers. The Lightning could use any help that they could get against Florida right now, but unfortunately, the Penguins weren't able to help them out, and now a battle of 2 Four Nations coaches. For the first time since Four Nations, Mike Sullivan coaching Team United States, while John Cooper coached the Four Nations champs in Team Canada. The Bolts have lost back-to-back games to 2 teams in the playoff hunt after a shootout win against the Dallas Stars. They're likely to have Andrei Vasilevsky back in net here at home against the Penguins, who have, of course, one of the greatest players to ever play the game in Sidney Crosby, who has 2 goals and 6 assists over his last 5 games, and has the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 9th best power play team in the NHL. It's faceoffs where the Penguins hang their hat. They are 5th in the league, winning over 52% of their faceoffs. But the penalty kill, their defense, is what cost Pittsburgh 18th in penalty kill at around 77%, and they allow the 30th fewest goals allowed per game. So defensively, the Penguins have been one of the worst teams in the NHL this season. The Lightning offensively have been one of the best, plain and simple. And that is a big reason that I think the Lightning has won won both games like they have against Pittsburgh. But at this late point in the year, the Penguins still have that veteran leadership of Sidney Crosby that can always help them in these important games. And that is, I think, a big reason that I'm happy that Anthony Cirelli came back into the game against Vegas, where he left in the first period, but he was back by the end of the second period on the Lightning bench. And he is likely going to be tasked with man-to-man coverage on Sidney Crosby whenever they are both in the game. John Cooper employs that strategy of putting Cirelli on the other team's best offensive player. And no matter how old Sidney Crosby gets, he is still incredibly talented and will be in need of shutting down. Crosby in 70 games, 25 goals and 53 assists so far this season. And he starred for John Cooper and Team Canada in the Four Nations face-off. Crosby has broke the 90-point mark in each of the last two seasons and has 78 points at this current juncture. He has topped the 100-point mark multiple times in his illustrious NHL career, where he has over 1,000 assists and over 1,600 points in 1,300-plus games played. He is obviously one guy the Lightning will need to shut down, and against the Lightning so far this season, they have done a good job of shutting down Sidney Crosby. He got one assist in the Lightning's 3-2 overtime win in Pittsburgh back in November. And Crosby also had one assist on the power play, assisting on Kevin Hayes' game-tying goal in the third period before Nikita Kucherov turned the tide and got the Lightning to win. So Crosby on the score sheet in 2 games with an assist. Obviously, that's something the Lightning hope to keep him off of, but you never know with a player like him. A guy I'm watching on the Lightning is Brayden Point, who for the most part has had a tough month of November goal scoring wise, but he got back on the score sheet a couple days ago. 3 goals, 5 assists in 12 games in November. Doesn't seem too bad, especially when he is 4th among Lightning forwards and 5th overall among Lightning players in the month of March in terms of points scored. But 2 goals for Point a couple games ago. He's certainly a guy that you would like to see heavily featured on the score sheet, as he has been one of the Lightning's best goal scorers this season, top 10 in the NHL with 34 goals, and tied with Jake Guentzel for the team lead. Those 2 goals for Point were his first since the opening couple games of March, and he has now 3 points in the past 4 games with 2 goals and an assist. He needs 2 goals to reach 300 in his NHL career, and it's certainly a chance that he gets them against the Penguins tonight. I mean, a two-goal game for Brayden Point seems a lot easier than it does for most NHL players. And Point has already had some success with a 2-goal game against the Penguins in the first time these two teams meet, including getting the Lightning on the board and the overtime winner. But with the playoffs getting closer and Brayden Point doing his closest to struggling in the month of March, I mean, I think it's tough to say that Point has been struggling at all this season when he is really having a great season offensively for Tampa Bay. But lately, it has just been tougher for him to find the score sheet, and getting him involved is certainly something that will benefit the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jake Guentzel as well, a guy with 34 goals, putting him on the score sheet, never a bad thing. And Nikita Kucherov needs 2 points to become the 3rd player in the NHL this season to reach 100. Leon Draisaitl is 3 points ahead of him at 2nd in the league. Nathan MacKinnon has 105, so 7 points ahead of Nikita Kucherov, who is still firmly in the mix for the Art Ross Trophy as he tries to win it for the 2nd straight season. I certainly expect Kucherov to be the maestro conducting the Lightning offense against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I do think that Kucherov is going to get to 100 points. I think he'll get a multi-point game against Pittsburgh. I don't think this is going to be too high scoring an affair. I think it's at the point of the season where these are 2 strong offensive teams that are just going to pick their shots. But you've got Andrei Vasilevsky in net to shut down Pittsburgh, and a Pittsburgh team that is hungry to fight their way into the playoffs in the waning years of Sidney Crosby's career. trying to get more and more wins for one of their all-time franchise players and a future NHL Hall of Famer in Sidney Crosby. So I think I'm expecting a multi-point game for Kucherov and a Lightning win as they look to sweep the Pittsburgh Penguins at Amalie Arena. I mentioned Anthony Cirelli is going to be an important part of this game, likely to be tasked with defending Sidney Crosby. He'll be playing in his 500th NHL game, a rare feat, and in the season where he gets to career game number 500, Anthony Cirelli already with career marks in goals and 2 assists off of his career high of 28, already with a career high in points as well. Is this a breakout season for Anthony Cirelli? March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And if you are hungry and looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, you can crack into a great source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, Wonderful Pistachios are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking on my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Anthony Cirelli has been one of the best players for the Tampa Bay Lightning over the course of this season, starring on defense and scoring 2 game-winning goals, 4 shorthanded goals, 3 power play goals, en route to a career high in goals, 24 this season in 68 games, 26 assists, tied for his second most in his NHL career, well on the pace of getting 2 more, which would make a career high. Also, 50 points for the first time in his NHL career, and all of that before his 500th career NHL game. Cirelli, in his first 50-point season, has been one of the best players and maybe one of the breakout stars in the NHL this season. And I certainly think that this is a breakout year for Cirelli. He is nearing his prime, just 27 years old, as the former third-round pick who represented Team Canada with his head coach John Cooper in the Four Nations face-off earlier this year, and has been a fixture in that Lightning's second line and truly one of the best two-way players in the entire NHL. In my opinion, he is the front runner. He is really the only choice to win the Frank J. Selke Award for the best two-way player in the entire NHL. He is consistently tasked with guarding the best player on the opposing team, and he consistently shuts them down. I think defensively and offensively, he's been one of the best players for Tampa Bay so far this season and has been a huge key to their success. I think you can only argue that Brandon Hagel is maybe the only other forward who rivals the defensive acumen of his best friend and line mate in Anthony Cirelli. And on both sides of the puck, I think if you look at just the defensive and offensive firepower that Cirelli provides, it's hard to argue that anyone has, maybe even in the entire league, at anyone has contributed as much defensively to their team. I mean, I think you look at the solid two-way guys like Alex Barkov on Florida, and any number of players, but I just don't think that there's a single forward who means as much defensively to their team as Anthony Cirelli does to the Tampa Bay Lightning. He is just the engine that makes this team go, and his chemistry with Brandon Hagel not only helps Cirelli out significantly. 17 of his 24 goals this season have been assisted by Brandon Hagel. So their combination has been amazing for the Tampa Bay Lightning offense, because you look at those two. Hagel, second on the team with 77 points, combining with Cirelli, they have 127 points and are plus 48. I mean, no other forwards on the Tampa Bay Lightning are even in plus 20. And only Nikita Kucherov has a positive plus minus of double digits among Tampa Bay Lightning forwards, aside from Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli. And I keep mentioning Hagel because it does seem like they're a package deal. But Cirelli, of course, being the focal point, reaching his 500th career game. That's obviously, I think, that's maybe the biggest milestone that could be seen this game. We could also see 100 points on the season for the second straight year for Kucherov. We could see a 300th goal for Braden Point. I mean, those are all certain possibilities against Pittsburgh, but Cirelli reaching his 500th game, barring a setback, I certainly expect that to happen. And Cirelli is also a guy who has barely missed a game for Tampa this season, even though he has taken some pucks to the face, including against the Vegas Golden Knights. It's why he left. He got hit with a puck and just immediately skated off the ice. But he brought back on a full face shield, which I'd expect to see more of with Cirelli. That's, I think, been the only downside to his game this season, the fact that he's gotten hit in the face with a couple pucks and have had to miss some games. I mean, he's played 68 of the 70 games that Tampa has skated in this season, and he has been a two-way force for every single one of them. And I truly believe that there is no better defensive forward in the entire NHL. I honestly don't believe it. It just seems like every single game you see some kind of play, whether it's a takeaway or, just a smart check or just getting back on defense, blocking a shot, whatever it is. Cirelli seems to be in the center of just about every solid defensive stand that Tampa Bay has. I mean, he always seems to be in two places at once, and is just so quick that it helps him cover so much more ground as a defensive player. And without Anthony Cirelli, I honestly don't know where the Lightning would be this season. He has been such a key player on both sides of the puck. I mean, 50 points in the NHL, even with the Tampa Bay Lightning bringing a massive complement of offensive talent and goal scorers, 50 points on this team is no small feat. He's one of 6 Lightning players to reach the 50-point mark. Also one of 6 Lightning players to reach the 20-goal mark on the season, behind Gensel, Point, Hagel, and Kucherov at 5th on the team with 24 goals this season. And, I mean, he does, I don't even want to think about where the Lightning would be without Cirelli. It's certainly an argument that he can win a team MVP award even with his defensive skills. Obviously, I still think that would go to maybe Nikita Kucherov, Victor Hedman. But Cirelli's defensive ability certainly makes him one of the best players on this Lightning team. And in my opinion, this season has made him one of the best players in the entire NHL. I think it's hard to think of Anthony Cirelli being a guy who was a significant player on Team Canada in their Four Nations victory. It's hard to think that that would have been an option before this season, but he played so well this year that there was no question that he had to be included among Canada's best in Four Nations. I think that was obvious a couple months ago during the selection. It was certainly obvious during the tournament when he played a really key role on the bottom six on defense for Team Canada. And it's certainly the case when you look at his impact on the Tampa Bay Lightning this season. But the next impact we're talking about when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning is a future impact. The Lightning making a entry-level signing for Dartmouth forward Cooper Flinton, who the Bolts initially drafted in the 7th round of the 2021 NHL draft. Now, most Lightning draftees, or really the main Lightning draftee that is on the mind of Lightning fans right now, is Isaac Howard. And we're going to talk about how the signing of Cooper Flinton could push Isaac Howard towards Tampa Bay. There is nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I just checked the Game Time app, and there are some amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up. Game Time Picks even highlights the super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck. And with seat views before you vie, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code below, Locked On NHL, for $20 off of your first purchase. Again, terms apply, but create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. On Monday afternoon, it was confirmed that the Tampa Bay Lightning signed Cooper Flinton to an entry-level NHL contract beginning in the 25-26 season. He will be trying out for the Syracuse Crunch and hopefully playing there for the rest of the season. He played 32 of 33 games for Dartmouth this season, a pretty prestigious college, not just in college hockey, but one of the best academic schools in the country. 11 goals and 13 assists, 24 points, 2 shorthanded goals, 4 power play goals. And he was tied for third on the team in goals, tied for fourth in points and assists. And Flinton has skated in 89 collegiate games with the Big Green of Dartmouth, 32 goals and 32 assists, including 5 game winners and 11 power play markers. So it does seem like Flinton is a solid scorer when the numbers are skewed, a guy who is quick enough to get a shorthanded goal and also smart enough and has a hard enough shot to get goals on the power play. And I think it's certainly worth talking about what Flinton himself could bring to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, I think more needs to be seen and maybe some seasoning a year or two in the AHL for the 21-year-old who played on the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders of the USHL before joining Dartmouth College. But one thing occurred to me. Cooper Flinton is listed as a left wing on the Tampa Bay Lightning website. Also listed as a left wing on the Tampa Bay Lightning website is their most recent first-round pick, current Hobie Baker nominee, Isaac Howard, a guy who just wrapped up a Big Ten Player of the Year award season where he scored 4 points, 2 goals, and 4 assists in the 4-3 win in overtime that captured Michigan State, the Big Ten championship. He is also listed as a left wing on the Tampa Bay Lightning website. So, does this Cooper Flinton signing have any effect on Isaac Howard potentially coming to the Tampa Bay Lightning? Like Flinton, he is listed as a junior at Michigan State, 1 year of college eligibility remaining for Isaac Howard. And I do think that the Lightning, this close to the end of the college hockey season, already calling up one of their former draftees still in college, I think that could help tip the scales and bring Isaac Howard, because you have to look at Isaac Howard as the best Lightning collegiate stash and maybe their best prospect period right now. It's very possible that Isaac Howard is going to finish with a Hobey Baker Award after already holding true on his preseason first-team All-Big Ten selection, making the first-team All-Big Ten, winning the Big Ten Player of the Year, the tournament most outstanding player, even an academic All-Big Ten to boot, and listed as a top 10 finalist for the Hobey Baker Memorial Award after winning the Big Ten scoring title as well. So this is a guy who already looks like he could be NHL ready. And he's a competitive player. The great ones always are. And that is certainly the case with Isaac Howard. I mean, you see what he has done at Michigan State, helping them to become one of the best teams in college hockey this year, in large part due to his own individual success with Michigan State. And he himself could certainly be the number one player in college hockey. Certainly has my vote for Hobey Baker. But there were certainly other players that deserve to be in contention for it. And whether or not the Hobey Baker Award has an effect on Isaac Howard's future, he might be one of those guys who really wants to win a national championship in college. He still has the chance to do that with Michigan State this year, but he might also want the individual accolades. I mean, the Hobey Baker is a very prestigious award, and any child in America or Canada or across the country who has wanted to play college hockey has probably dreamed of lifting that trophy up. And Isaac Howard might be one of those players, but his competitive spirit might kick in, already seeing a former 7th round pick get drafted in, or get picked up by the Lightning, get signed to a 2-year entry level deal. And Isaac Howard could certainly command a lot of money in the deal that he signs with Tampa Bay, and is certainly someone who I could see competing for a bottom 6 spot on the Lightning's roster as early as next season. But there are still some forwards that the Lightning have under contract. Obviously, some of that needs to be worked out, and he might need some time in the AHL. As good as he looks in college hockey, it's not easy to make the jump instantly from college to the pros in any sport, especially in hockey when you have the ability to play in a couple other leagues just to get your feet wet in terms of pro hockey. But I think that, Flinton being the same age as Howard, coming from an earlier draft by just about a year, that could just be enough for Isaac Howard to be like, you know what? The Lightning are already looking to some of their draft guys to fill some roster spots, whether it's the AHL or the NHL for him. I think it's my turn. And frankly, there's not much left that Isaac Howard can do in Michigan State. He's already proven that he is one of the best players to put on those green and white uniforms. He's already proven to be one of the best players in college hockey right now. The only thing maybe missing from his mantle is a Hobey Baker Award and or a national championship. So I think those factors could factor into Isaac Howard using his last year of collegiate eligibility. but a player of his talent, with the Lightning already looking to their former draft pool, looking to their college stashes to add to their team going forward, Isaac Howard might start thinking that he is ready to suit up for the Tampa Bay Lightning or even the Syracuse Crunch, but ready to really get on the road to the NHL. And this incredibly hyped up prospect, the Lightning picked in the first round almost 3 years ago, could be seen suiting up for the Tampa Bay Lightning sooner than you might think. I really think that this Cooper Flinton deal helped push the dial, but it might not be too long before Isaac Howard signs his entry-level deal with the Tampa Bay Lightning. My guess is that he is going to be in preseason camp for Tampa, trying out for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I certainly hope and believe that he's going to forego his last year of NHL or NCAA NHL eligibility, as Cooper Flinton just did in his 2-year entry-level deal. But that is going to do it for today's show. More tomorrow and more tonight, as I will be at Amalie Arena for the Lightning and Penguins game. You can check out our X account at LO_Lightning for in-game updates live from Amalie Arena. Until then, I'm Josh Sperber, and I want to thank all of you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, make sure to check out the Locked On NHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, wherever you listen to this podcast today. We really appreciate your guys' support. But until tomorrow, thanks again for tuning in. Go Bolts, and have a great Tuesday.